that.
Where's your beer, Wolf?
G'day from Australia. We got Dale Buddle. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, 4 p.m. March 24th, 2022. The boys are cheersing. There's a little lag. They're wondering why they don't see it on the TV.
We're doing it live, baby.
We're doing it live. Another week of technical difficulties. But hey, we're going to see what we got. We got Grant Peterson, one of the founders of the Born Free Motorcycle Show in the house, and we're going to hop him in just a minute. So anyway, what's new this week, boys?
Oh, there's so much going on all the time. It's amazing.
Yeah, we did. We had 2 drops this week, which was kind of unexpected, but we had the Pan America Day 2 drop. We showed one of our wounded soldiers there with his leg, and you had mentioned on that drop that Josh and I are warriors because I actually just healed up from my ribs, and it's been 6 weeks. And who would have guessed, like, bruising and soft tissue and cartilage and would take that long? And part of it was coughing. That's part of the healing process. And why would you have to cough when you have bad ribs? It was just
so you can have some pain.
Brutally painful.
Well, if they haven't
we got some good news on you.
Yep.
The doctor gave you the green light to start walking in that boot.
I'm moving my foot around, walking. I'm actually walking in tennis shoes, doing a little icing because it still swells when you use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to probably have a little different pain just because now you're putting some pressure down on that sucker.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. But if you haven't seen the drop yesterday, definitely head over there and watch it. It's really great. It's a good time. We had fun. You'll have fun watching it. I know that.
Yeah, and then Josh on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday or Tuesday?
I think Tuesday I decided to just pick up the camera and just start filming bullshit. And we got it going.
That was pretty funny. And hopefully we got some nice comments on that. They get to see a day in the life. We'll do a few of those. I think we got some tricks up our sleeve that we can play around with.
Well, you know, while we're in studio, we're figuring out our roots and what we're going to do. And we got to goof off a little bit.
Absolutely. So look, we've got some great guests lined up this month and next. We're going to have Matt from Downshift, his car page there. And we're going to have, looks like Letitia. We're going to have Sapasu at some point. Gavin.
She's a little harder to get down. She's busy all month, but.
And then Kelly, I think, is going to jump on with us. So,
Throttle Girl.
Yeah, Throttle Girl, awesome. Which will be really cool. So it's going to be a great time. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll get you out, get on a trike and do a little back road filming. I'm itching to go.
Hey, we got some good comments saying day in the life was awesome. Keep them coming. Tyrus says definitely need more vlog style. Well, thank you guys. You're making my life easier. It's a hell of a lot easier to edit.
You could do a sound check with them and ask them how we're doing.
Let's see. Well, why don't we just beam them in?
Well, let's ask your audience first. Let's see.
I did. They said we're sounding good.
They said we're good.
They said
great.
Okay, well, so go ahead.
Well, I was going to say we're going to be probably heading up to Big Sur at the end of April.
Yep, with Aaron.
With Aaron Baker, an awesome guy that we had on here. His story is phenomenal, and we can't wait for you to see that. So
yeah, for sure. Well, look, this next guest that we have that we'll spend a little time with, I think you'll all enjoy, Grant Peterson. And there's some history and backstory to this, which is such a bizarre world in this community. And we'll get into that when he gets on. But he's one of the founders of a Born Free show. They're going to actually try to do another show, I think, this year. He'll talk a little bit about that. And this guy is just an incredible Harley enthusiast, loves those old pans and has that vibe. And so I can't wait to have some discussion with him.
Well, there's a lot of really cool things around old bikes and choppers and guys that build bikes. And I think Born Free has a pretty huge fan base.
They do.
You know, I think Harley's even involved with
it.
I
think they are as well. We'll ask him that.
So very interesting.
Why don't you
let's find out. Let's see. Yo, what's happening, Grant?
Hi, guys. How we doing?
Hey, Grant. How are you?
I'm great.
Well, we truly appreciate. There you are.
There he is.
We truly appreciate you jumping on. In kind of a short notice, a couple of weeks.
No problem. Happy to do it. We love talking about Born Free and getting the word out because as big as it is in some circles, plenty of people have not ever heard of it, don't know what it is, but I think would enjoy it. So we are definitely still all about getting the word out. And of course, getting back into touch with you, Galen, after, boy, I don't know. I mean, I moved from Salt Lake City in New Year's Eve of 2000. I don't know when you left, but even prior to that, I don't think I'd seen you since, I don't know, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s. And here our lives have gone full circle and then come back. And here we are both entrenched in all this Harley culture. And it's just kind of crazy. And, you know, our dads were so close. Your dad was like a mentor to my dad, probably one of the, and no disrespect to my grandpa, because he was an amazing guy too, but I think your dad might have been an even bigger influence than even my grandpa was. So yeah, it's
Well, your grandfather was a great man as well, and kind of interesting. The backstory here is I grew up on a street in Salt Lake City called 18th East, and it was kind of this. My dad was kind of the ringleader of the whole street, and so he would take people on river rafting trips, and he would take people on camping trips, and he'd build a trailer, and his sticker in his truck said Yamahaler, and so we all had Yamahas, and would tool around the salt flats and go up into Mineral Basin and some of these just beautiful, pristine areas. And your father was like, his name is Scott. He was like a big brother to me. We're 15 years apart. I don't know if they're listening. I did talk to them last week, but before Annabelle, your mother came into the scene. He was still a young man, and they had some girls that would come over and bring them pies and different things. And I got to sit there and eat pie with them and check out the girls. But my dad had a cabinet.
At that time?
What's that?
How old were you at that time?
Oh, I was probably, the first memories were probably 5 to, then it was into my teens, but
sure. So
really,
yeah.
really he actually worked with my dad. Jeff Perry and Scott worked in my dad's cabinet shop that he had behind the house that he used to do extra work with. And so those guys were always over there. And it's just amazing to me. My mom called me, like, I think it was, when's the first Born Free? Was that 6 years ago we went, or 7 years?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Yeah. My mom called me and she'd seen a post that I'd made, and she said, well, do you know Grant Peterson is running? I said, Grant Peterson? She's like, yeah, you should call him, and got the number from your mom. And that's when we first met at Born Free. This was a number of years ago. So
yeah,
Now
we're full-fledged presidents of Born Free, and we get grass passes and we get the whole enchilada.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting when hearing your guys' story and the history that you have there. When my son was 4 and 5 and he was racing dirt bikes at Lemon Grove out in Piru, Galen used to come out with his son and watch him race. So there's a whole motorcycle circle going on here.
For sure.
And I guess for those of our fans, I guess you can call them, that are watching right now that may or may not know about Born Free, if you've got a little elevator pitch, feel free to shout that out.
Yeah, I mean, I can give a brief rundown of how it started and where we're at now. We're in our 13th year. I guess if the world hadn't ended, we'd be in our 14th year, because we did have to miss 1 year during all that loveliness. But basically, my partner Mike Davis and myself, back in when we started our little world of vintage choppers, which is what we were really focused on back then, kind of like 60s style bikes. There wasn't an outlet for that. There's a handful of friends of ours in Southern California and a few dudes sprinkled throughout the country, well, probably throughout the world, but it was a really small group, and everything was driven off of blogs back then. And so we all had our blogs, and that's where we'd post stuff, and that's getting to know all these other guys outside of just the little bit that were in magazines, which again, we were such a niche deal. Every once in a while, somebody would run like a traditional style chopper in a magazine, and you'd just be like, "Oh man," sit there and pour over it. And we would buy old like street chopper magazines and Easy Riders and Custom Bike and all the 60s and 70s magazines for inspiration. And we'd just pour over those hour after hour and just kind of refining our taste, figuring out what all the parts were and how to do these things. And we'd go to some of these big fairground shows, and it was all this, that, and the other to get in there, and then there was like 2.5 bikes we liked. Again, we were very opinionated and very focused on what we liked, but it just wasn't for us. And it was like, oh man. And we would have barbecues at friends' houses, like over at our buddy Gabe's house in Midway City, kind of Huntington Beach area. And there'd be 12, I mean, again, in our opinions, killer old style choppers out there, knuckleheads, panheads, shovelheads. And we're like, we have better bike shows at our barbecues than bike shows. But the big obstacle has always been, especially in Southern California, is there's no shortage of things to do. So just getting everybody that we know, or a good number of them, together for one afternoon or whatever to, let's say, have a show is tough, because it's like, oh, well, there's this going on and this going on. I'll just wait till next week. We're just so spoiled. So Mike and I had thrown a couple of rides, meeting at like Cook's Corner and then ride from there. And we did, all of a sudden there was like 20, 30, 40 people showing up to these. Again, not huge by any stretch, but again, this is 15 years ago, probably, because this was pre-Born Free. And again, to see that many old bikes and young guys on old bikes, that was a hard thing. People don't realize now that are getting into it that it really was kind of just a real sort of outcast or niche thing. And so Mike's blog, and he did t-shirts also, was called Born Loser. And I don't know if anybody remembers that is listening, but the Born Loser blog was great. Mike had tons of vintage pictures and all kinds of fun stuff on there. And then mine and my friend Harpoon, who's a custom painter, sign painter, we lived together at the time. He was living in this house with me in Fullerton, which is where we both built our bikes that we still have. I still have my shovelhead, he's got his panhead. And he was a screen printer and graphic design teacher at the time, but still doing custom like metal flake paint jobs and stuff. And so we came up with this brand called Freedom Machinery and Accessories, or FMA. And a lot of people don't know this now, but Born Free is Born Loser and Freedom Machinery and Accessories put together. So, yeah. And we just assume that everybody knows that that's how it is. But the more that I learn, the less I know that people know the history, which is fine. They don't have to, as long as they come and have fun. So the show in 30 days, the very first one, I made a flyer on Photoshop when I was at work, and we put it out there 30 days ahead of the event. And it was everything and more that we wanted it to be. It was in a little industrial complex parking lot in the city of Orange, not far from Disneyland and like Angel Stadium. And two of our friends had shops. There was a hot rod shop, my buddy Jimmy's shop, and then Classic Cycles was an old British bike shop that was there. And we had free beer and pickled eggs, and it was 1,000,000 degrees in September. And but we had friends from the Bay Area, the Northwest, Minneapolis, Colorado, Arizona, again, we just threw this thing together, and there was people that we all were friends in this blog sphere or whatever, that showed up to this thing that we just threw. And we had some good photos. Scott Pommier shot a bunch of photos, and I was actually working in the automotive magazine industry at the time, Hot Rod and Cartcraft, but I was moonlighting over at Street Chopper. We brought Street Chopper back from extinction. It was basically extinct, and just kind of turned it around, and we got some good press from that. And we moved the second Born Free to another friend shop, a guy that's kind of a Long Beach legend, who unfortunately has passed since, but Mike O'Brien's Pacific Coast Cycles, we got a permit and shut down the block that his shop was on in Signal Hill, which actually, I'm in Long Beach now. That's where I live. And it's just a couple of miles from here, but it was 10 times as big as the first. And people just kept coming and kept coming. It was like, how did these people find out? It just blew our minds. And there was 5,000 people there, where, I don't know, there may have been 500 at the first one, and like 100 bikes. And here we are, we're like, where are we going to put all these people and the bikes? And we had like 4 porta potties. We had some free hot dog on a stick and a taco cart, and we bought a pallet of Paps. We had 5,000 cans of Paps, and it was a party. And it's still, to this day, people that were there, and everybody has their favorites, of course, and we can't change their minds, but there's a ton of people that still say, oh, Born Free 2 is the best Born Free ever. I think they're all individually neat, but that was definitely one that was just like, we knew we had a tiger by the tail then, and we're like, oh, well, we're going to have to move for next year because there's just too many people. And Born Free 3 is when we moved to Oak Canyon Ranch, where we're still at, in Orange County behind Irvine Lake. And even that, Mike and I went out there and we're looking at this place and we're going, it's 17 acres. And we're just going, oh, is this a good idea? Because at that point, we hadn't really spent a lot of money on the show, a couple of grand, but everybody had fun. We were just doing it for fun. We didn't set out to do this as a business. We didn't set out to still be doing it and be talking to you all these years later. We really thought it had, I don't know, a couple of years shelf life, 3 or 4 maybe. And but we went at this with the idea, okay, all the things that bug us about these shows is why we started this one. Again, just to have fun, but we want to do it the best we can. If we could put on our dream show, what would we do? So, and again, that's probably not very business minded, but again, it was for fun. So we just kept trying to make it as fun and as good as possible. And then it doubled in size every year for like 4 or 5 years. And it was just to the point where Born Free 5 was the last year that it was one day. And a lot of people remember this. There was a traffic jam because it's one way in, one way out where it is. And their traffic was backed up all the way to the toll road, and which wasn't our fault. Somebody used our parking lot for like a color run, like a mud run thing, first thing in the morning, thinking we'd be done. And oh boy, were they wrong. And people still probably don't come because of that traffic line that one year. But it about killed us in a lot of ways. So Mike and I had to reinvent what we were doing again, because I don't like waiting in lines. My dad sure as hell doesn't like waiting in lines. I think that's where I get it from. And what are the things that are unpleasant to do at a show? So we're like, we either need to give it up or figure out how to retool. So that's when we went to 2 days, and believe it or not, it was free for the first 5 years, free admission. Everything changes, and we had a good run like that, and people still give us shit that, oh, I remember when it was free. I was like, I do too. But look around, we can't do this for nothing. So, we spend more on porta potties than a lot of people do on their events, and your chick can find a clean one the second day. So you're welcome. We had started doing the bike giveaways too, and having fun with that. And which was, again, just another way to get people excited. And we've given away over 30 bikes over the years of all kinds, pre-war knuckleheads, big twin flathead choppers. We've given away a bunch of new bikes now, full custom FXRs from San Diego Customs, all kind of running the gamut of all kinds of vintage, and the new bikes. And so here we are, Born Free 13. We got the Wall of Death. We've got 200 vendors from all over the world. We've got bands, music. There's 3,500 bikes is what we can fit inside the grounds, and that's what your grass pass gets you. Guaranteed parking and entry inside the grounds each day. So we've we're trying to get back on doing a pre-party as well, which we would do on Thursdays, and we'd run some flat track races like at Costa Mesa Speedway, City of Industry, where we would have our invited builder bikes on display for the first time as a first look, and then go and, well, there'd be the party at Cook's on Friday, which Builtwell does, the People's Champ Party, and I think that's Cook's busiest night of the year. And then Born Free Saturday, Sunday. So it's really pretty wild. I can't believe that we get 30,000 people from all over the world for that weekend pretty steadily the last handful of years. So that's the Cliff Notes version. Oh, did I lose you guys? I can't hear you. Hello? Sorry, guys, I can't hear anything. I can see you waving your arms. Hello?
That might have been why.
There we go.
There it is. Yeah, our microphone interface died, and I had no idea. So he was.
Our mics were out.
Luckily, you know how to describe stuff, because we would have been shit out of water.
Hey, so now if you haven't been,
Yeah, I can hear you
we can
fine.
hear
So
you.
that's good.
If
We heard the whole story.
if people
We're
haven't
back.
been to Born, if people
Hey.
haven't been to Born Free, I mean, it's a whole event. Like, I think it's the Ives brothers that maybe do your Wall of Death. I think you've got camping. You see people rolling in from all over the place with their camping gear, and they're hanging out. And talk a little bit about what the 3 days are kind of like there with the events and the bands and all the different things that you have.
Yeah, we've got the Ives Brothers Wall of Death. So Friday night we don't have the manpower to do it, but Builtwell does the People's Champ, which, so we also have and sorry if this is all over the place, but we have a group of invited builders that we pick every year to build bikes just to debut at Born Free. It's a select group, and we've been doing it since, I think, Born Free 4. And we usually have about 30 builders. And so the Builtwell, well, it started out with Show Class Magazine. A lot of people think that it's really hard to be a Born Free builder, which it is. But we also don't know everybody. And there's a lot of things that go into the decision to pick a builder. Of course, style, personality, because we have to work with you for a year. We got to make sure you're going to do a great job and show up on time and all these things. And we do try to pick people not from Southern California, despite what the internet thinks. And we've had a lot of people from Japan, Europe, Australia, and all over the country here, Canada. So we really do try to look everywhere, but we don't know everybody. So the People's Champ thing got going as a way for people to submit their stuff online, and it gets voted down and the builds progress and stuff. So the culmination of that is the Friday night before Born Free at Cook's Corner. And I think it usually starts around 3 or 4 o'clock. I should know that, but I'm too busy working to ever show up, unfortunately. But it's Cook's busiest night of the year. So they pick the People's Champ winner, who is then one of our invited builders. And they show up on Saturday morning with their bike. And we put it in the invited builder corral, which is right in front of the main stage. And you get to vote on that all weekend. And the winner actually goes to Moon Eyes, Yokohama, Japan, which was a huge inspiration for us doing what we do. Shige and Chico and the whole Moon Eyes staff have been just, they're some of the best people out there and the most courteous and most hospitable. And everything we've done, we've tried to do it like how they would, or even a lot of the stuff they do. So we worked out this deal with Shige a long time ago that the best in show overall in the show gets to go to them and their bike. They get to go to Yokohama, Japan for their show in December, as well as the invited builder first place. And so there's that, which is like a show within Born Free. We have our special guest area that is a lot of highlighted, neat vintage bikes, especially because as the show's grown, where it used to just be old bikes, there was no new bikes, and as we grew, we didn't want to be so exclusive where it turns off people that want to be excited about bikes or to come check stuff out. But it was a hard thing for us to figure out how to do this because we didn't want to have it just turn into a show for new bikes, because we started it because there was plenty of those. So over the years, we've figured out how to kind of weave a lot of that together, and a lot of guys and girls our age have that maybe started out on old bikes of, everybody gets softer, more pains and aches and stuff, and pretty soon you're riding a Street Glide or an FXR where you used to have a chopper and all this stuff. So it sort of has seamlessly melded the old and the new at Born Free, and I think we do still have a really great mix of all of that.
You have a great crowd, and I think don't you even do like FXR Saturday or designs and build?
Exactly. So San Diego Customs has kind of taken on a lot of that because they're kind of in the forefront of a lot of the FXR and Dyna stuff. And even, they kind of built the Pan America before Harley did for Born Free, believe it or not. And we have a great relationship with Harley Davidson as well for quite some time, I think since Born Free 3 or 4. They had a 10x10 pop-up, easy up, and some flyers from one of the local dealers. And then from there, we had a really great guy from Harley Corporate who's unfortunately moved on to other bigger and better. But Michael Lowney was a real visionary with what Harley should be doing as far as getting the next generation involved and getting them comfortable with Harley Davidson, which, for all those years there was the stigma through the 70s and 80s and whatever. There was, fuck the factory. And so as they're aging out with Harley's customer base, Mike Lowney saw what we were doing and just wanted to go along for the ride, didn't want to tell us what to do, didn't want to interject really, just knew that what we had our finger on was something that was going to be something. And maybe he even saw something bigger in us than we saw at the time. And it's since turned into that. And we've had a great relationship with Harley over the years. And I believe that we do put young people and maybe even new motorcycle people into the dealerships. And sometimes that's the gateway drug where they used to be scary places. You go in there and you get attitude and yada, yada, yada. And I think it definitely has changed. And, even the aesthetics of a lot of dealers, which dealers are actually in charge of what their dealership carries as far as merch. And, it used to just be tribal flame skulls, yada, typical 90s biker stuff. But there's some really cool stuff. We would go to the Harley Museum in Milwaukee, and you go into the gift shop there and you're just like, holy crap. And again, for us loving old stuff, there's all because they were like the original cool brand. And there's all this stuff with old logos, old artwork and everything on all these clothes. And you're like, how come you can't walk into the dealership and buy these? And you're starting to see more of that kind of cool stuff in a lot of the dealers like Quaid or Orange County or Huntington Beach Harley now.
So Grant, you're a young man still, and you've got what? Yeah, it appears like you have some vinyl behind you.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, it kind of goes along with all of my other old obsessions, but growing up doing old cars and old houses.
Is there any album back there that has the actual song "Born Free"?
I do have that somewhere. Somebody gave it to me, the soundtrack for the 70s TV show, which I never saw it when I was young, but we said Born Free. Plenty of people always sing it to us. But
so Grant, speaking of kind of old things, Josh, can you throw the picture up?
I'm gonna try. Let me stop this phone. Do we have UPS?
No.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're back.
We do have UPS.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's in the. Excuse us. It's in the right by the door.
On the table.
Stop calling.
There's a business here that keeps happening while we're always trying to do these things.
Oh, really?
UPS guy just showed up.
So when Josh gets back, we'll put the
I'm
picture
trying
up.
to
But
find a way to do it, but I'm not exactly
maybe
sure
we won't
how.
be able to. But we took something off your Instagram, and I was going to throw a picture up with you and the family on your dad's 465 Yami Screamer.
I think I know
that
the
guy
picture
could
you're
ride a
talking
wheelie
about.
for miles.
He sure can. I just remember all you guys because I'm 42. You're
55.
55. So again, you were kind of like the older kids to my brother Scott and I, and we just go out there and be like, look at those guys. That's gnarly. Watching you guys do all that stuff. And I can remember my dad just doing stuff where we're just like, wow, that's insane. And the last dirt bike he was riding before he got his hip replaced was still an 84 CR 500. It's like a fourth gear wheelie machine.
Right.
And he was kind of bummed. He's like, this isn't a very good trail bike, and man, I'm kind of having a hard time starting it now with the hip. And it's like, Dad, you're almost 70 and you're riding a CR 500. Like, God, high five.
Well, didn't you just get him a bike as well?
Yeah, which was really great to do because I'm sure for years and years and years, all I did was take and or be a burden. So even though I tried not to, but you know how things go. But I bought a pre-unit Triumph hill climber at the Mecum auction in Vegas one year. This may or may not have been a good idea, but and I couldn't sell it afterwards. I buy and sell a lot of old bikes and parts and stuff. And, you win some, you lose some. And I had a friend in the Valley, my buddy Jed, who actually has a company that makes a lot of really cool reproduction, old sort of wool jerseys and sweaters, all motorcycle stuff. And he had this Dyna Switchback, which was a great bike, but they were kind of in between, like Dynas and Sportsters, and neither crowd really accepted it. I don't know, it's a 2012 or something like that. It was kind of a slimmed down bagger, but capable bike, but they just didn't sell well. And he had this thing, and it was meticulously taken care of. And it's like, sure, I'll trade you. And I was thinking about it, and I called my dad. I was like, Dad, you want a Harley? And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I got this bike in a trade. I don't need it. I don't really want to go and deal with all the Craigslist jerks. I'd just rather give it to you. And, he spent his whole life in the dirt on dirt bikes. Yep. Probably, even though there was never the conversation in our house, but my great grandpa, Peterson, he was a motorcycle officer in Salt Lake and got killed in 54, I think. He was rear-ended on his Survey car on duty, and a little 4.5 trike at a stop sign by an old lady and died. But I think because my grandpa Peterson was also a motorcycle officer, and I've got some neat pictures of those guys. And I was thinking before this interview, if I was actually smart, I would have tried to dig them out and send them to you so you could put them up. Sorry.
We'll have you back on just before the event happens, and then you can send those over to us.
Yeah, there we go. But I think after that happened with great grandpa, there was never talks that you can't ride a motorcycle, but my dad and Uncle Craig and Dana and all the Fairbanks guys and you guys were just always out in the dirt. I mean, it never really slowed anybody down, and nobody ever said you can't ride a bike. But he never really rode on the street except for taking us on sitting on the tank or the dog on the tank of the dirt bikes running around the neighborhood. He taught every kid on our street, all my sisters, all the neighbors, everybody how to ride a motorcycle. But yeah, it was really good to be able to give him that bike, and he's been riding the crap out of it, which has been great. So I think it's really kind of giving him a shot in the arm.
That's awesome. So outside of that bike, what's the oldest bike you've actually, or the newest bike you've actually owned and ridden?
I guess technically, was it 2020 or 2021 Road Glide Special?
Really? Oh, so you have a new bike.
Sort of. I don't ever ride it.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture of the that red Survey car. Was that the Knucklehead, or I forget what was in it, but
so the Survey cars, that's also a little 45 cubic inch flathead, kind of like the
Oh, wow.
military WLA. It's the same engine. They're actually detuned a little bit, if you can believe that, in the Survey cars. But that red Survey, it's a 47 Survey car, and it's turned into one of my favorite bikes I've ever had. I've owned probably 100 to 200 bikes, and that stupid thing, just because I can run errands in my car, or I can do it on a motorcycle, and I don't know, I love the crap out of it.
Well, it looked like you could hit about 60 on it, so that's all you really need, right?
I've actually had it up to about 66 downhill with a tailwind wrapped in a truck. Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
66 on Route 66.
You remember at the Harley Museum, we saw that 3-wheeled Oji, and it had the leather kind of fairing. It's one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, we plan our trips and we do thousands of miles a year, and we're always on new bikes because where we're going and what we're doing, and we're filming, and we have this whole thing going. And the thought of the old bike, which we really like, but it seems like we got to really depend on nothing breaking down.
Sure. I get it. I'm just stubborn, and I don't know. It's when I ride those things, I'm like, wow, this thing is just incredibly impressive. You know, like the Road Glide. I'm just like, holy crap, I'm doing 110 miles an hour, and whoa, I got to slow down. You know, they're so capable, and what great machines. I just have such an affinity for the old stuff, or I don't know, maybe I'm just a little, masochistic. But I work on all my stuff, and I enjoy the history part of it. I like the craftsmanship part of it. And it's getting more challenging as as the years go by to find good parts and things like that. And I don't know, I feel with like old cars and trucks, like old stuff in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you have to know how to operate the machinery before you can drive it or ride it. It's all
that's a lost art in some regard today. I mean, there's guys that, like he was saying, the reliability of the machine, but like every year we've gone to Sturgis, we've had some not old bikes but older bikes, and we've had breakdowns. And like last year we had a W3 with us that had a carbureted engine, and the cable off the throttle broke, and luckily we had an 05 Dyna that had a push-pull cable on it, and we took one out and fixed it onto the new W3, and we were on the road again. And that stuff, that's a little bit of a lost art out there where we were talking to Jason Sims about that as well. Like, he does this cannonball run, and he's saying, like, if the guy breaks down and can't get fixed, he flies out of that town or what have you.
Well, I mean, we service our own bikes, so we know our bikes, and we would definitely work on them. But we will, I'm sure, at some point, get on old bikes and go across the country somewhere. I think we have to.
It's something I've been dying to do, a cross country thing. I've been bummed that I haven't been able to join Jason's motorcycle chase, which is different than the Cannonball. He does both.
Right.
I don't really want to go cross country on a teens bike just yet. I'm not quite there. As much as I love the old stuff, that's a whole nother ball game. It's almost like riding a bicycle. But the motorcycle chase is you pack your own tools, your own gear, your chase trucks, because that's what I do when I go for these rides. Like I had a 1937 Harley 80-inch flathead, the UL, that I had built and ridden I rode that thing for like 8 or 9 years, and I packed a bunch of stuff. We were going to go to the Antique Motorcycle Club of America road run in Lake Tahoe, and me and a friend rode from LA. He was on a 47 knuckle, I was on my big twin flathead, and we rode to Tahoe and then did 200 miles each day on this road run all around Tahoe area, Carson City and stuff, and then rode all the way back. I mean, all told, it was 1,500 miles or so. And
wow.
The only problem both of us had was I had a flat, and I had everything to change it and changed it. And so I think a lot of old stuff, well, and even stuff that I consider newish, like a lot of FXRs, twin cams, Evos, and even cone shell heads get blamed a lot for what used to be sort of manufacturing problems. Like a lot of the AMF era stuff had a bad rap. But
Right.
when you put stuff together, right, and like you said, you guys are attentive to your own bikes. And again, just doing it right makes all the difference. And then you can do these things. I can't ride at 110 miles an hour across the desert with you on my 37 Harley, but
No.
so that's really kind of gets to be the bigger difference is the speeds at which everybody's used to going now. But like last Friday, it didn't end well because I shouldn't have done it this way on that bike. But my red 47 Cervicar, I rode from Tucson to Bisbee, Arizona, which is 140 miles on a worn out 1947 45-inch flathead trike. I got there, but I don't know that anybody's really toured on a bike like that. It's just not really made for it. But if you're stubborn enough and dumb enough,
Anything is possible.
you could do all kinds of stuff. So,
Well, you blew it up, huh?
yeah, it was really worn out when I bought it, but I ride it so much I never can bear thinking about not having it. But that last grade going up to before you drop into Bisbee, it just got so hot.
Yeah.
No, whatever was left of the rings, I think, just wound up in the bottom
Gone.
of the case. But I'm collecting parts. I'm actually going to do a little stroker and do a few things to make that bike really, for what it is, a lot more capable. And that I could do stuff like that. So maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise. It's just I don't want to do it right now. I've got too many things going on. So we'll see.
Hey, so back to the event. When is the Born Free this year? Because there was a little bit of confusion, I think, for some. We saw some stuff where grass passes were going on sale, and what's the story with that?
Yeah, June 25th, 26th is the event dates in the same place in Orange County, and you can get the location and pertinent details at bornfreeshow.com on the website.
In the description.
What's that?
Sorry to cut you off, but all the info is in the description of the live as well.
Oh, okay.
So people can go back and find it.
And we try to put as much out there as we can because I probably don't have to tell you guys, people won't read anything no matter how much you type. Even on like our Instagram posts where we do this whole dissertation, and then people are still DMing you like, hey, what? It's like, oh, we just laid it all out. But so the thing with grass passes, it's early on, before we were able to fill Oak Canyon Ranch with bikes, we didn't quite know how many we could fit in the perimeter. And one year we found out we slightly oversold grass passes. We still got them in, but it was a little tricky. So we're like, okay, there's our number. And so we pulled back from there. So we sell a fixed amount for each day that guarantees you and your bike entry and parking inside the show grounds, which is within the 17 acres on the grass. Passenger needs to have one as well, and you can buy one for either Saturday or for Sunday, or you can buy both. And it's the fairest way we've been able to come up with making sure that you can get in and show your bike. Obviously, the earlier you get there, the better the parking because it fills up to the gills. But so something kind of funny happened this year, which has never happened. Normally it takes us, I don't know, we usually start selling grass passes February, March-ish, and then Saturday we'll sell out in a couple of months, typically lately. And
no, we'll cut out.
We'll sell out beginning of June. We only know, or we know we can only fit so many people in, so we want to guarantee you that. So this year they went on sale. So we sell them online. Our partners at Loser Machine, who is a company that Obey Clothing had started, Loser Machine and Dark Seas, and Loser Machine, they've facilitate all of our online sales stuff because it's just Mike and I. Despite what things seem online or even at the show, it's still just Mike and I, and then help from really great friends and family kind of at the event. So Loser Machine has all the capabilities to do all the online stuff. So we put up grass passes when they went on sale, I don't know, a month ago, and we sold in 2.5 days. We sold online through them what normally takes us 2 or 3 months. So then it kind of got tricky because everybody's like, well, where's my grass passes. I thought, or where can I get them? I thought they were on sale. They were. We just sold 2,000 of them over the weekend, which again takes months normally. And even so, we usually set up at the Long Beach motorcycle swap meet every month and have for years. And I sold 500 there last month myself. It was everything I brought. It had never been like that. So again, we have a fixed amount.
Well, I think people want to get out to these events.
Yeah, exactly.
They missed it for a year or so. And then, so what does it cost someone to get in?
It's $25 per person.
Okay.
So
and then you have like what, 50 vendors, and then you have a live band and stuff that goes on.
There's close to 200 vendors total.
200. Wow.
Yeah, from all over the place, and that's also kind of been hard. We get a lot of people that would love to be vendors at the show, and it's a question we get all the time. Again, we have a certain amount of space, and having more vendors doesn't necessarily make the show better. And it also doesn't necessarily make the vendors that are there have a better time or better success. So when we put the Vans half pipe vert ramp in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, as just another add to the attractions, where we've got past, present, and former pro skaters and BMX people just hard charging it on. It's a 30-foot vert ramp. It was actually the one that Vans shoes used on the 2000 Warped Tour. It still travels around, so it's gnarly. I stand there and I look at them. I'm just like, you guys are nuts. But we put that in. And we actually cut about 30 vendors because we needed the space for this, and it makes a better experience for the ones that are there. And we try to not overlap on a lot of types of vendors too, because how many people can you have selling old Harley t-shirts or silver jewelry or gloves or that kind of stuff? So we do really try to make it the best for everybody. It just means that we can't get all the vendors in that we'd like, which we probably have 100 vendors on a waiting list. And it's just something that probably won't happen, unfortunately, but we want to offer everybody the best experience. So,
and you can grab a burger or a hot dog there, or tacos or what have you, right? And then you have a beer vendor or two around there.
Yep, we've got excuse me, we've got everything from vegetarian to pizza, burgers, Thai food. There's Bill Barrett. He handles all of our food stuff. He does Coachella and a whole bunch of different events. So we do try to have a wide variety of stuff there. And plenty of beer all over the grounds.
Go ahead.
Nope, you cut out there for a second. What was that?
I was saying, so that's a great event, and you've been doing that for a while now. You were talking to us about you guys were maybe thinking about doing another event in a different state somewhere, maybe?
Yeah, so our friends in Texas, Oliver Peck, who has run Elm Street Tattoo and also Cheap Thrills, and they were doing Southern Throwdown, which was a show in Dallas. Him and another friend of ours, Scott, or Chemical Randy, depending on who you ask, little insider nickname there, but Scott is Chemical Candy Customs Paint, who does phenomenal paint jobs. And those guys, they just want to have fun, and they do so much stuff out there and travel all over, and just are genuinely excited about all of this kind of stuff. And so they're like, hey man, let's do something in Texas. Let's join forces. And we're like, well, we don't leave our neighborhood because, or at least for promoting, we've actually looked into doing a Born Free on the East Coast, Japan, and been propositioned to do it in Europe and other places, but partnerships are hard. Mike and I continue to do things the way we do them because it works, and we kind of have a really strict way of doing things behind the scenes when it comes down to it, because that's the only way stuff gets done. Again, we don't have a giant staff or crew, so we really have to depend on these people. And so after, it's probably been about a year since we've been talking with the Texas boys about this, and they wound up buying. There's a group of them that bought this property in East Texas It's 2 hours east of Dallas and about 45 minutes from Tyler, Texas. So towards the Louisiana side, and it's 117 acres. Born Free is 17 acres, and it's 100 more acres. Willie Nelson used to play there. Every big old country act had been through there. There's plenty of room. There's almost this natural crater on the property where the big stage is down in the bottom of it. So it's kind of this big bowl amphitheater. There's a few cabins around the rim. And then there's acres for wooded tent camping. There's 150 RV hookups. There's 2 stages. There's ponds. We could have a fishing derby. They cut in a pretty decent sized flat track. I'm guessing it's like 1/4 to 3/8 mile,
Wow.
which is bigger than anything we have here in Southern California now. And then
Yeah.
they also
Wow.
did, I don't know if anybody went to the Fandango show in Texas last year or the year before. And actually, shout out to them. Their event's next weekend in the Hill Country in Texas. It's super fun. AMCA swap meet, but they were doing chopper dirt drags, as well as flat track out there. So Dinker Dan and all these guys are out there on the choppers, just drag racing. And so they built an 1/8 mile and a 1/4 mile dirt drag strip there. And there's so much room for possibilities that's almost the hard part, is figuring out how to use it. So we've figured out a lot of the back end stuff and are happy to announce that we are doing something there. We're still trying to figure out all the details, but it'll be October 22nd, 23rd. And it's called Yellow Rose Canyon is what they're calling the place. And I believe it's got its own Instagram and stuff. And sorry to sideline into this. We put most all of our pertinent stuff on Instagram, and I think it shares to Facebook. I still don't know how to use Facebook, but I think it's out there. But that's the best way to keep up on all this kind of stuff. We'll update everybody. But
I mean, that sounds like an amazing event. I mean, what are we going to associate Grant Peterson with, the next new Sturgis, or what?
Right.
Who knows? The fun thing that Texas has to offer is we'll be able to do everything that we can't do in California, such as have everybody stay when they show up. Where at Born Free, we want you there and we want you to have fun, but at the end of the day, you got to get out so we can clean and get set up for the next day. And we just have so much liability in California, so much stuff on site and there's just no space ultimately for people to camp and things like that. So this is, once you show up, we don't want you to leave. Keep you there and spend your money. Yeah. So we're gonna just try to fill it with fun and see what happens. But it'll be less, I want to say less stressful, because it won't just be like 4 or 5 hours of just madness. You'll be able to take your time and then ease into camping and a whole lot of nighttime activities and things. And so pretty exciting.
That's really cool. So hold on one second. Do we have any questions for him?
I think
comments?
The last question I saw was someone was asking if his bike was in the year bracket to make the Cannonball, but from what it sounds like, he's got a lot more than one bike, and he's got something that would work in there.
Who only has one bike? If you have one bike, you're at least one bike short, because you need 2.
I'm right there right now. I sold my FXR, and I just got that road cam. I'm missing what you would still call an old bike, but a bike that was older than me.
That's okay. I always, people ask me how many bikes I have, and I said, well, it's kind of the same thing when people ask me how many tattoos. I'm like, I don't know. Are you supposed to count? You're like, but fun. And I don't. Well, prior to a couple of days ago, I didn't have anything that's old enough for the Cannonball, which is generally pre-36, and usually even like teens or early 20s and earlier. One year it was 1936 and older, so first year knuckleheads could do it. And some of my friends with 36 knuckleheads did it. I had my 37 at the time, and I was like, oh, I would totally do it. But the year break didn't work. I just bought a bunch of teens and 20s stuff yesterday. I think I'm still worn out from loading the trailer. Galen saw the picture.
That picture. Yep.
There's even as far back as like a 1914 single cylinder in the load. So which
Gnarly.
guys ride those on the Cannonball? Yeah. So
Wow.
I still haven't even unloaded it all.
Crazy. Well, we did have, I guess, first off from Alex Hernandez, he said, Lance, what do you mean the UPS guy, the best UPS guy? That was, I guess he commented, the UPS guy commented
That's
on
your
there.
UPS guy?
Yeah, he is the best UPS
in
guy.
here.
Yes, he is.
He rides. That's
and
probably
then
why.
This one's for you, Lance. Big Oil 7 says, laughing because in your vlog this morning, Lance wanted the TV monitor higher, and now he's going to break his neck staring at the ceiling. You guys are just looking up there. We had some questions for us about, what directions are we heading next? What's the next tour? What are we thinking?
Probably up the coast or up the 101, then down the coast with Aaron. Aaron Baker was a guest of ours a few months back. He was in a dirt bike accident out in Simi Valley years ago that left him paralyzed. And his sister came into the hospital room and painted his toenails a different color, each one of them, just to mess with him and to try to keep his spirits up. And at the end of the day, that ended up being a godsend because he would focus on the color on his big toe and move that up his leg, the sensitivity of it, and then into his brain, and then shoot it back down and say, I'm going to move. And he eventually he's now walking. He built a trike.
With an old trike with an Evo. It's got
Evo.
sprint car wheels and like a fuselage on. It's badass.
I mean, it's just
That's
gnarly.
awesome.
The guy, he's gone across the Death Valley a couple times. He's won bike races across the country.
Well, he walked across Death Valley.
He did walk across. So it's just
Wow.
that should be an inspirational trip. Just hanging out with him.
Let's see, and then that should be badass. And I think capturing the story of that, not just like a riding vlog, and just really sharing the passion for 2 wheels or 3 in his case right now.
Yeah, Grant, you'd have to see this bike. He did he took some sprint car race wheels, 2 left sides, and that's his setup for his. And this thing just rips.
Just Google Aaron Baker.
Yeah,
And then
All
he's
right.
got a couple documentaries out there. I think one on Netflix, one on Amazon. But yeah, cool dude.
or you can look at our live with Aaron Baker.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
from James Latiff, what kind of jacket are you wearing, Grant?
So funny enough, I'm 6'3", I have really long arms, and it's hard to find stuff that has long enough arms here in America. Coincidentally, this is a Japanese brand called Ironheart. They're very proud of their stuff, but it's extremely well made. They have insane jackets and flannels and all kinds of stuff, and I love it. I can only spoil myself with so much of it. It is pricey, but if you want something that's gonna like be a forever clothing item, check it out. But Lance, I want to tell you, because I think in the beginning you were saying you were just recovering from something, and I just want to share this, and they should put me on the payroll. I have nothing to do with it, but I tore my calf muscle kickstarting a 61 XLCH that I bought recently. It was like a 10.5-inch tear, and it saved my knee from breaking or hyperextending. But some people, while I was laid up, because I was laid up on the couch for almost a month, some people had suggested looking into peptide injections or peptide therapies, which I guess
all over it.
Okay, and so I ultimately found a place, which it's kind of hard to find a reputable place, but there's a place in Orange that I went up getting 2 different peptides and plasma replacement therapy. They ultrasounded it and shot it right in, and that was a medical miracle. It blows me away how fast I recovered after that. Insane.
Well,
so if anybody's
I am doing that right now. So
You did,
soft tissue,
which one did you do first?
I did some peptides and proteins for right after the surgery for the bone, and now I'm going to do some ligament stuff. But
nice.
on the way, it's good.
I cannot believe that more people don't talk about it, or I don't know, maybe they do it in the wrong circles, but it was.
Who knows? But I mean, I'm 6 weeks after surgery. I'm walking on crutches now. I might do this trip on a trike so I can be with Aaron on a trike. But other than that, I think I'll be on the bike right after that.
That's awesome.
We'll see. And
But
then
thanks.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got some other comments. Let's see. Doug Longval said free beer and lobster rolls in Cape Cod for you guys. So hey, if we're ever in
Okay.
Florida, we got a free meal and some
There you
cold ones.
go.
Me too.
Mike McGee says, watching yesterday's video, my heart went out to Lance as his road dogs rode off into the sunset and he went to the hospital. But yeah, I mean, Lance told us to finish
keep
that
going.
ride. I think I've been in Lance's situation. Lance has now been in what was my situation. Galen's
Let's
just
not talk about it.
you know, not
Well,
talk about it, but
yeah.
it's just all part of the ride.
I
But,
mean, we thought you had a broken ankle,
Again, yeah.
and I cracked the ribs, and it was
On that trip, yeah.
yeah. But I haven't. Well, I won't even say that. But
Yeah.
yes, you guys have both experienced a broken leg or two or
Yeah.
whatever.
4, whatever. And what I meant to say earlier, I mean, you were talking about, whether it be not being able to have, 5,000 vendors, and someone mentioned, oh, is this the next Sturgis or whatever? And, what I think is cool is that when you look at Born Free and you look at, I don't want to say the branding, but just the fact that the culture is preserved with it. It's something that people genuinely want to go to. They know they're going to have a good time. They're not going to get shit pushed in their face. That's
It's
something
important.
really cool to have,
Yeah, you go to these shows and no offense to people that like Beanie Babies or bed sheets, but we used to have events with vendors like that, and that were like automotive and motorcycle events, and it's just like, okay, I know you might have your wife or your daughter or your girlfriend here, but that doesn't mean they have to be looking at bed sheets. And we get this is another segue into things, but it's crazy with how Born Free's grown, and now it's a destination and has been for female riders, and they're coming in groups. We've actually got a couple of builders this year. We've had some in the past. They didn't finish. We're hoping Becky finishes this year. But it's crazy how things have turned, and you don't even have to be a motorcycle person to go to Born Free and have fun. It's kind of a fun spectacle. But yeah, there's no tough guy stuff. Everybody's too busy catching up or checking everything out. It's a different sort of motorcycle event, and people like that had been in the motorcycle industry for decades come to ours and they're like, this feels different. It feels like how it used to be back in the 70s. And we've worked really hard to maintain that, because you can find the other stuff everywhere else. And
Yep.
we really want to maintain the direction and the fun and the feel of what we've got going on. It's important.
Well, we're not big event guys. We typically just go ride, and we've actually been to Born Free 3 or 4 times.
More than any other event, except Sturgis.
Because it's got that vibe. You're right.
I'm not big for festivals and things like that. I've been in music my whole life, and I hate music festivals and stuff like that. And I shouldn't say this as I put on a motorcycle festival, but I really think that anybody could come and have fun, and it's cool to see the progression too, where especially in the young people that might be bringing their dad out that was an old biker. It's like, Dad, you got to see this. Is like pictures from the albums at home, and then it gets them excited and doing stuff. And maybe the kid will go and get an Evo Sportster the next year, and then the year after that he's on a Shufflehead, and the year after that maybe he's got a Knucklehead or something. And to see where we really are affecting people's lives, and hopefully for the better, and getting them into something that hopefully they'll be passionate about for the rest of their life. And a lot of these people that, I know we're probably running long here, and I just can sit here and talk all day, but one of my favorite things about Born Free since the very first one, and I still maintain it, is the people, especially on old bikes, no offense to everybody that travels on the new bikes, but the people that will be riding really 30s, 40s, 50s stuff across the country, across North America. We get a lot of people from Canada, people that have shipped bikes from overseas, from all over, done the ride across America to California like a pilgrimage. And I've always said, regardless of what happens at the show, they will never forget that trip. It seems like it's usually 17 days is sort of people's round trips on old bikes, and they will remember that to and from journey, regardless of what happens at the show. They'll remember that for the rest of their life. So we are affecting them for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
Hopefully for the best.
For sure. I mean,
No.
we even had one of the guys that follows what we're doing after or the most recent one, he was posting pictures with his kid. He took a bunch of pictures of his young kid next to a bunch of old bikes, and he was just having a blast. And like you said, it's whether it's some dude my age bringing their dad or grandpa, or some dude my age bringing their kid, or whatever it may be, anything in between. It's badass to see.
Well, our buddy.
Also, just real quick, we're getting a bunch of questions on it, on the logistics. So I'm just going to post this again. You guys can find all the info on here or on the Born Free Instagram. Just go check that out, and you can find any answers you want.
Well, our buddy Dom Scamaldo, he has an old panhead or shovelhead or
panhead,
and it was his father's bike.
Oh,
and now it's his bike. So he has a picture of his dad sitting on it, now him sitting on it, now his son sitting on it.
And shout out to Derek Frank, who just got himself some thrash and bagger floorboards and some brake stuff.
Yo, so I see the passion in what you're doing and why you did it. And Galen, Josh, and I have this same passion. And when we started our channel of traveling and shaking hands with America and seeing people from coast to coast, we've done these incredible trips. And I think Galen coined this one for us. Like, we're here to inspire you to get out and find the open road and all this great stuff. Well, we've gotten so much inspiration from people telling us their stories of why they started riding again because of watching our videos. So it's like we're inspired to do even more, and it's the passion.
Yep.
And it'll turn into our livelihood, which it is.
Yep.
And they're not going to search my bags. I can bring in all my camera equipment this year, right? Yeah.
No guarantee. Our security is just doing their job, and they do a great job.
Well, we know a guy.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get you on the.
We should do a whole story on the event.
Yeah.
Sure. We used to do a lot of videos. Ultimately, we couldn't get reliable enough people to help us with it, and we don't have the budget to spend what it would really cost. But we have a YouTube channel where I don't know, there's probably 100 videos, and we would primarily do them on our invited builders, just as kind of a glimpse into these guys' lives. And we even recorded by Discovery Channel one year. They'd put a call out for a new motorcycle related show, and Born Free was in their papers that they were sending out to all these producers and directors, and mostly they're the ones you don't want to work with because they wanted to manufacture drama. And we had a tentative deal with Red Bull Media, and it's then everything tanked and all that stuff with them. And it's too bad because I've always said there's so much content out there that if somebody wants to just follow people around, I'll give you a list of names or whatever. There's so many stories and so many backstories and so many things to learn about everybody just at Born Free. I mean, let alone what you guys do across the country. So yeah. You're more than welcome anytime.
Yeah, we may have to take you up on that, but it has been an interesting couple of years.
Yeah,
Lance and I have been riding together for about 10 years, and for the 6 years before that, before we started the company, I mean, we were seeing this as well. Like, you could just go out and see these little towns and these entrepreneurs, and they all welcomed us with open arms. And we'd go back to some of the same towns, repeatedly, and they end up becoming your friend, and they know you when you walk in. They know what you want to eat, and they know what you want, beer you want, or whatever it is. And now just putting it on, a medium where people can witness what we're witnessing has been, I'm going to call it short of nothing but spectacular, because it's just the commentary that we get. We'll get some occasional, negative comments, but that's very, very rare. It's mostly just this positive vibe, and thank you for showing us the country, and you inspired me to ride again. I sold all my stuff. I'm riding it. I just bought my first Harley. My dad and I just bought Harleys together to go ride. I mean, it's endless stories that come in that are so incredible, and that's kind of what you see when you go out to Born Free as well. The community out there, you run into people that you haven't seen for a while.
Well, I think the main thing for me, like a story or a thought, is I like to see the trip to Born Free, and I like to see the people that are at Born Free and where they're from around the world and why they're there and who they are. Just that end of it, that side of it, to me is like, because you get thousands of people there.
Exactly.
He said you could drone everything you want. You can just buzz the campground and buzz the.
I'm with the cause.
I've learned that the people that have negative comments about what you're doing are the ones that are jealous and may always be miserable. Because there's plenty of opposition to what we're doing, and I just chalk it up to these people don't want to have fun. Like I don't. If you come to the
all
show,
comes down to.
I mean, people always complain about the heat, but it's the end of June in Southern California. I'm like, that's the biggest complaint. I'm like, I don't know, just come and have fun. The jealousy keeps people from really experiencing things, and luckily that's the minority.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
For sure.
And it's been hot a couple times we've been there, but
yeah.
I mean, like you say, it's like we're in Southern California. You don't know what it's going to be. It could be raining. It could be.
Has it ever rained on the Born Free?
It sprinkled on a Sunday morning, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It was really
Wow.
interesting. We were just like, wow, this is great. And the year after that, it was like 70 degrees both days. So, you never know. It's better than Louisville, Kentucky in July. I mean, we don't quite, and there's a lot of trees. There's a lot of shade. If you take a break, there's a lot of places you can just crash
Go get a cold beer or cold water and go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a perfect facility area.
Yeah. That's why we stay there. We could use more space, but we don't want to have it be on blacktop in a fairgrounds parking lot. It just loses everything.
Yeah.
Well, just think about that. It's kind of like our company that we're starting here. It's only 2 years old. You started in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And now you're
a very big one.
Yeah. And now you're 17 acres and you're talking about doing an event in 117 acres. I mean, it just, shows all the hard work you guys have put in. And I've witnessed you running around that place, trying to keep things organized. The bands, you're just flying all over the place.
We're like chickens with our heads cut off.
Yeah, in fact, that's how I met you, running around with the clipboard and Mike
walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
That sounds
so
about right.
Tell us just a little bit about Mike.
Mike is such a tenacious, driven dude. This wouldn't happen without him, I'll tell you that much. I would have given up already. But our partnership is good because he does all the stuff that I don't care to do or don't want to do or are not good at, and vice versa. So, it's kind of, we've sort of been married to each other all of these years, just the nature of what we have to do. But he's so good with ideas and details, and he's the sales guy too. He handles all the sponsorship stuff, and he never stops thinking. I'm probably a lot lazier throughout the year. Well, I definitely am than he is. I love the on-site stuff and talking to everybody and making everything happen there. And he's really a giant creative driving force behind it. And
how did you guys meet?
We met at the Long Beach swap meet through some mutual friends. My buddy John Edwards and Mike's friend too. We're both friends with John, but didn't really know each other. And I was working for Classic Trucks magazine at the time and looking for project vehicles that we could do simple stories on for people that were reliable. And I think Mike had a Ford F1 panel truck, if I remember right, about a 1950 Ford, and we'd started talking about that, and then started talking more about bikes, and then just kind of were on the same wavelength with everything back then, and just kind of spooled from there. And then after we had started Born Free a couple of years later, we were both talking. We're like, hey, you want to get a shop together? Because our garages were just bursting, and so we got a shop in the city of Orange that we unfortunately just closed at the end of last year. We'd had that for, I think, 11 years. We called it the Cycle Lodge, and it was me, Mike, and our friend Harpoon. And we did a lot of stuff there. A lot of bikes came and went. It was great times. He's moved up to Oregon, probably about a year ago now. And, but we've got things pretty well on lock as far as we don't totally have to be here to be able to do everything. We know most of the calls and things. There'll be some challenges, but nothing we're too worried about. But
so is it a Born Free motorcycle shop in Burbank?
there is.
Is that any affiliation at all?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. Things are interesting with people sometimes. When they popped up, we said, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Because the show was going before, and I don't know. I guess everybody can argue their point, but they didn't have any sort of online intellectual property or anything prior to that, and talked to them about it. Our lawyer suggested going after them. We're not that type, and figured it would be a bigger hardship on them than us because everybody asked them about grass passes and all show related stuff. Where nobody asked us about their shop, so it is what it is. We see them set up time to time. It's odd, in all honesty, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah, no affiliation there.
Okay. So what's your background in terms of education, and did you just get into management of big events? Is that just something you fell into?
I graduated high school. Did you go to Highland?
Yep.
Yeah. So we both, Galen and I both went to high school.
Highland High.
I always say that's Beavis and Butthead's high school because they went to Highland High too. But I didn't go to college. I moved to Southern California to pursue building pre-war Ford hot rods, which I was horrendously obsessed with for a long, long time, and was in the automotive industry, mostly fabrication. Was doing a lot more mechanic stuff before I moved out here. Like I used to do a lot of stuff with Roger Nelson in the neighborhood down the street from you, and I still talk to Roger to this day. But moved out here and pursued working in shops, worked doing all that, and even in Boyd Coddington's and stuff back in the day. And then once all this started, again, we didn't expect this to be a business, and we had zero experience at doing anything like this. We've just figured it out, and we're still not the best at it. There's a lot of ways that people could maybe streamline it or monetize what we do better, but again, this was a passion project. We've had to treat it more like a business just because it's incredibly expensive for us to put on now the way we do it. Not complaining, but it's not what it seems like. It's a giant undertaking. People think we're multimillionaires, and the fact is we spend all that money on the show. It is lucrative enough for us to keep doing it, but it's quite a juggernaut. So
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I mean, we decide on a trip. We ship parts and we sell and we do different things like that, and we manage the warehouse here. But when we go on a trip, which is our main deal, we pack our bags and we go and we're gone.
Yep,
it's free and easy.
Well, that's partially true. We don't really carry any inventory other than shirts and hats, and we will get orders and if we can fulfill them, Joshua pulls out the MacBook Pro and signs into the drag account, and
in the middle of nowhere,
but we're out having fun.
Of course,
we're free and easy.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's why it's given me a bigger appreciation for going to other people's events and watching them work, and I can just sit there and smile and like not have to worry about anything, and I don't have to plan anything. I'm just like, okay, I'll just show up and have fun. I love doing that.
What people don't realize is you're planning and building this show the whole year.
Yeah, a lot of times we even start for the current event. We start before that on some things for the following year. So it really is, there's busy times of the year and there's quiet times, but we do work on it all year long, every year.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great discussion with you, and I'm so stoked. I was trying to get that picture up because you're on the front of that bike, and you're like probably 4.
Yeah, is it my mom and my dad and maybe
Yeah,
my
it was on
brother
that
as well,
Suzuki or something, or
Yeah,
yellow bike.
Yeah, that's on the Yamaha.
Yep.
So we called him Scotty at the time. So
Yeah.
do we still call him Scotty, or is he grown up to be
Yeah,
Scott?
either one, Scott or Scotty.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got 3 kids. Is moving from Poway down by San Diego to Virginia currently. Yeah, he's good.
He's a very important person, as I understand it.
Yes. He does a lot of stuff that he can't tell us about until later
Right.
on. Yeah, he was born to do that stuff. But yeah, I can still remember a lot of stuff with your dad eating the crushed ice out of the ice machine in the cabinet shop. It's the best ice in the world. And when he was making sausage over there, and then I remember your chicken coops back behind the garage, and we'd always go back and I don't know, whatever, stick our fingers in the chicken cage or whatever. And I remember, I can barely remember this, and I had to probably been about the 4 or 5 year old age, and we were all camping. Man, I almost want to say we were up in Blackfoot, Idaho.
I was going to say, we're at Blackfoot.
It was a river rafting trip, and I remember your dad got out. There was a rattlesnake nearby, and he caught it and chopped its head off, and the thing was sitting there rattling. And I could still vividly see all this. And again, I was maybe 4 or 5, and then somewhere along the line, I pooped my pants, and then he wrapped me up in this this Levi jacket with a fur lined thing as my shorts, I guess. I've never forgot that. And but your dad was just always so funny too. And there's still a running joke with, especially Scott and my oldest younger sister Laura. She was there, and I can't remember where we were, but we were at somebody's cabin, and he's like, "Oh, what is that? Poop on your face?" And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Hurry up! It's like a race." And that's still a joke, especially with Laura. But
that's funny. That's really good. Yeah. Well, we had some really good times with your folks, and your mom is your mom, if you know what I mean. She's talking to her the other day, it was like I hadn't missed talking to her for so long, because it was just, she was so just bubbly, energetic, Yep.
Annabelle's Annabelle.
Lady.
Yep.
Well, look, we'll get you back on just the week or 2 before the show if you have the time, and then we can kind of just re-announce things and try to help plug some attendance out there. But I don't know if there's any parting comments or questions that we have for him. If not, then we've taken up an hour and 20 minutes of your day. So
that's all right. I'm pleased to be able to chat with you guys.
Absolutely.
No, it doesn't look like we have too many comments that can't be found on the
everybody.
website.
Ran them all.
No, you're good.
People are probably just listening, mesmerized.
Josh can see what's happening over there, and he's saying, giving us thumbs up.
We
tried to get him on camera, but that was part of our issue with being a few minutes late. So we've got to figure that out, because we need him on camera, and then he can't yawn or do anything over there when he's on camera.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll keep clean.
But my man, I appreciate you jumping on, and we might try to hit you up for some grass passes. And
yeah, you got my number.
Yeah, I got your number. I just won't do it the day before the event.
No, you will not get them if it's the day before the event. I'll tell you that much. I don't think I answer my phone the week before the event.
Yeah.
Well, I love your parents. I love you and your brother and sisters, and it's great that our families were connected, and your grandparents as well. I mean, they were just super, super people.
We're very fortunate. It's something that I've been thankful for a long time, because plenty of my really good friends were not as fortunate to have great families. And even when we didn't have anything, we had all of us, as crazy as it was back then. But
Yeah.
you know, your family was definitely a shining example of a great family unit and how to live. And we're very lucky.
Well, I consider it lucky too that we reconnected a few years ago. It's like, wow, who would have thought?
I know.
But
it seems like it's just been like that,
two
though.
guys from Salt Lake City, Sugar House kind of area.
Yep.
And we're out here now 30 years later talking on a TV show.
And it's all about motorcycles.
Exactly.
Dig it. Well, hey, what do they need to do over there, Chief?
Well, subscribe to our YouTube channel is what you need to do.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Subscribe to the website. Go to bornfreeshow.com.
Yeah,
check us all out on Instagram. Check out the description of the video. You know the deal.
And
check out all the links.
And there's a real good chance if you go to Born Free, you're going to see us walking around.
That's right.
There you go.
So,
we'll do meet and greet.
Yes.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, my brother. Thank you, Grant. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Take care.
Garen and Lance.
Great hanging with you.
And we'll call. I'll call you in the next couple of weeks.
All right. See you down the road.
Down the road.
Down the road. All right. Now it's just you two. And yeah,
Boom.
3, 2, 1. We'll end it up. And
Yeah.
Lance, your family left you.
Yes.
You don't have a ride, but you can hop on the back. It's all right. And broadcast.